Hello, Max Wright here, and I'm here with another video inspired by Sargon of Akkad. I'm going to try and keep my shit together here, but I lost my shit when I watched this. So this video, it's called A Social Justice Coup, and it goes for 48 minutes, and it's about, it's a college campus, kids just completely fucking lost their mind. They're just demanding all sorts of insane shit. They're completely off the reservation with what they're demanding, why they're demanding it, their mindset around it, and their entitlement to it. And Sargon very, very eloquently does a great job of talking about all of the places why they're wrong. And then, so there's like 45 minutes of this awesomeness. And then somewhere in there, one of the kids is like, who's just ranting and raving at the dean of students. It's like, we're paying customers and you have to give us what we want or we're taking our business elsewhere, or something to that effect. To which Sargon chimes in and says this is why he can advocate socialized university, to fix the problems of the market when customers demand the wrong things. I hear this and I'm just like, oh no, we are so fucked. We are so doomed as a society. This is horrific. Like, Sargon, do you really think that these people went through kindergarten through year 12, 13 years of government-run education? They came out the other side, great critical thinking, wise, industrious young adults. They went into a private university for 2 years and all of a sudden they got fucked up in the head and started demanding this shit. Is this seriously what you think? The government has destroyed, government-run education has destroyed these human beings. They are broken. It's for me looking on it, it's as horrific as watching like a gruesome like assault or a rape or something. These people have just been mentally fucked by the government. This is the cause of the problem. They go into an institution which you're calling a private education, but it's so far from the free market, it's not even funny. In order to be accredited as a university and able to call yourself that, you have to jump through all these hoops. A government organization will give you an accreditation to say you can or you can't do this based on whether or not what your curriculum is and what you're teaching. It's all to protect the consumer and to make sure the quality of education is just fantastic. The government has this bureaucracy which will maintain minimum levels of education. And in order to qualify for those minimum levels, you have to do what the government says. The whole process from kindergarten through to graduation is a completely government-run, organized, mandated thing. Yes, in the college level, there are some private colleges in the same way there are some private high schools as well. But in order to call yourself that, in order to get a lot of them still do get government funding. In order to get, so the government says, okay, here's your entire customer pool of consumers, right? We are going to give them special loans at especially low interest rates and give them all these special privileges if they get the loans to go to an accredited university. So basically through that process, the government has stolen all of their customers and bribed them to only go to institutions that meet this government standard. So it's the opposite of the free market. Yes, there may be some people, like institutions, making money out of it, and they may be private individuals. But to say this is a free market environment is not even close to the truth. But at the high school level and the elementary school level, that is crystal clear. There's no profit seeking whatsoever. That is a government-run entity. And these people are coming out the other end broken, destroyed human beings, completely incapable of being able to think for themselves. And for these people, there is no recovering from this. I mean, of course they can change the directory of their life and start improving it, but you can never ever recover from this. A child's brain is just specially designed to just learn. We'll never learn as fast as we could learn when we were kids. In the same way, you can never grow. Like if you're like malnourished when you're like 7 years old and it stunts your growth and you don't grow into a fully grown adult, you can have the most nutritious diet for the rest of your life. You're a midget, done and dusted. You don't get a second bite at the cherry. It's over. There's exactly the same thing works with your mind. If the government destroys the child's mind, even when they get out of school and they go into the real world and they can now start, turning it around and educating themselves properly, they will never, ever, ever be the same human being that they would have been. They are intellectually stunted, have intellectually stunted growth. They are intellectual midgets. They're destroyed. They're destroyed, and they can never, ever, ever come back to it, to anywhere near the potential that they could have. Now, I just want to just really ram this point home. The government had them for 13 years. They produced 18, 19-year-old people of this caliber, just completely devoid of reality. It's like I said, 45 minutes, you just tore strips of them, and you were absolutely correct in everything you said. This is what 13 years of forced government education created. And you think just 4 more years is going to turn it all around? I can't for the life of me figure out how you can join those dots and how you can possibly think that's a good idea. Now, when I was thinking about this video, I was thinking about doing a whole bunch of research and screenshots and showing you things from the Department of Education website and proving this point and that point and really going into details about how the government just destroys the whole education system. And I thought, no, I don't want to do that. I just want to say stuff that I know you already know. Every piece of data I've provided in this video, you know public schools are funded by government, you know that the world over. In the vast majority of countries, you know that the universities have standards and bureaucracies which maintain them and at certain levels that they have to hit. But by and large, everything I've said, you already know, and you know the government is heavily influenced throughout the whole process. So I scratch my head, I'm like, how can you possibly get to the end of that and with all of that knowledge, things that you know, and come to the conclusion that if only we can get these kids in their clutches of government for a few more years, then everything will be fine. How does it get to that point? So this to me is where it gets really, really interesting. How does someone who's super smart, as you are, who knows the things that I've just said, how is it that you have all the pieces of the puzzle? How is it that you can't make the puzzle fit? How is it that you can't complete the puzzle? How can you come to that conclusion? How can you miss the fact that it's government destroying these children and destroying their education? And I think the answer is government-run education. See, if I said to you, when you send a child to a Jewish school or a Catholic school, or a Muslim school or whatever, from kindergarten through year 12, you know the chances are that child is going to come out the other end believing in one of those religions. Even if the parents don't, they're probably going to. And what people don't get is when you send people to a government-run school, they are getting propagandized to believe in government as if it were a god, as if government is the solution to all problems, as if government can do no wrong. You don't get trained in the art of seeing what are the consequences of this? Where has government gone wrong in the past? How has government contributed to this failure so far? If we do what I'm advocating, how is that going to destroy the incentive models to make people act poorly instead of in a way that we want them to act? None of these things are taught in school. All of these critical thinking skills are gone. And so we arrive at a point where you're not here to agree with me or disagree with me, unfortunately. But I think I've made a pretty good case for how ridiculous a notion it is to suggest that all that these kids need is to be in the clutches of government for just a few more years and everything will be fine. I think I've done it with data that you already knew in your head, and yet you hadn't put it together. I'm sorry, that sounds really condescending and dickish. I'm sorry about that. I don't know how to say it less dickish. But it just those dots were never joined for you. And I think the answer is because we all went to government-run schools, we were indoctrinated in that way. So now we get to a point where, I mean, in the States, it's nothing short of horrific. It's like 50% of people leaving high school are next to illiterate. The quality of education is so bad and so horrific. There's no question that the government is failing miserably when it comes to educating our children all over the world. All over the world. Government is just claiming they're trying to educate our children and failing miserably. Simultaneously, they're also doing a very good job of indoctrinating people to where they can't see the failures of government. They can't see the errors, they can't see all of the ways in which government does bad, and people's default thing is, well, if there's a problem, let's just get government to solve the problem. And so when you look at that across all of these countries, across all over the world, governments are consistently failing educating our children, but they are successfully indoctrinating children into believing in advocating government solutions for almost everything. In America, a poll was done recently. For the first time ever in the history of the United States, socialism was viewed with a more positive connotation than the word capitalism. And obviously socialism being the expansion of government, all money flows through government and is distributed evenly, etc. It's a concentration of power in the government. But anyway, I think there is enough evidence there to see that in fact, it's not the government's intention to educate you in any way, shape or form. It is their intention to indoctrinate our children. That is their goal. That is their mandate. Just with the information I've said so far, I think that's really, really clear to see. Now, if you want You can jump on YouTube, check out lots of different places. You can look up like the Prussian education system. You can look up the Carnegie Endowment Foundation, look up the Rockefeller Foundation, and you'll really actually see lots and lots of data that specifically suggests that the most powerful, richest people in the world, the ones that the left love to hate, the 1%, but it's actually the 0.0001%, those people for hundreds of years, those dynasties, they've actually been running the world for all that time. They are actually not capitalists at all, which that you've been led to believe. They're actually advocates of massive government, and government's run by them. And they have been, as a set agenda, they funded it, they succeeded in doing it, through the mechanism of government, they've managed to completely indoctrinate an entire global population to demand their own enslavement with big government. If you want to do the research, just go and find it. It's really easy to find once you know to look for it. But I think the evidence is there that they're either horrifically incompetent, in which case they shouldn't be allowed to educate our children. But in fact, if they were just horrifically incompetent, they'd occasionally make a mistake and do something in our favor. And they just don't. So I think there's really good evidence to suggest there that that's not their agenda. Their agenda is actually indoctrination. And if you do come to that conclusion after whatever research you do, you're now left in a very, very strange situation. Because part of that indoctrination is that the evil people of the world are capitalists. I think the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he was a capitalist. Convincing the world that rich people, by definition, are capitalists. Nothing could be further from the truth. The richest people in the world are often come from heavily regulated industries where governments just prohibit competition. Pharmaceutical industry, banking industry, military-industrial complex, media, where they grant special privileges and licenses to broadcasting companies and not other people. Internet's doing a good job of eliminating that privilege. But the richest people don't come from free market environments. They're not free market capitalists. They are, in fact, advocates of massive government, and they have tricked the left into demanding their own demise. And they've done it so well, and they do it so brilliantly, and it's so evil, it's so mind-blowing. It's almost to the point where it's like, well, hats off to you. You guys deserve to run the world. That's how good at it they are. They can just have billions of people demanding their own enslavement and demanding they do things that are going to work exactly against them. And I think in this arc of a storyline is one of the biggest challenges that advocates of freedom have when communicating with the left. Because the left have in their mind that, you know, unfettered liberty, unfettered freedom is like Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. It's this evil situation where the rich just get richer and richer and richer and hoard everything, and the poor just get poorer and poorer, and there's people starving in the streets, and it's this Mad Max, you know, gang warfare situation without a benevolent government to keep the peace. And the only thing keeping me from that horrific world is government. And like a child who like grabs onto a parent's leg, I think statists are like, just keep me away from that. That is so evil. And so to tell them that the leg they're clutching is actually the evil itself, you can imagine the psychological triggers. And it's a variation of Stockholm Syndrome. It's like, I have to believe in this, because if I don't believe in this, I'm going to end up with that. And these psychological pressures that play on the left that make them so hard for them to see just how awesome freedom is and all the benefits that freedom has given the world. You know, you got to remember, you know, the United States was for a time, not for a long time now, but was for a time the greatest experiment in human liberty the world had ever seen. And it created the largest middle class and the most explosive growth, economic growth, and bring the most number of people out of poverty for its time ever. But you can't, it's so hard for people to see that. They won't see it because they got to hold on to the leg. Anyway, I'm going to leave this video there because this video can be as long as it wants. I could talk for days on this topic now that we're here. But I'd just go back to that original point and just question that. If I feel like if I can get someone to just smash over one big domino, like something they truly believe in their hearts, like most leftists, the thought of, well, of course government should pay for education. It's just, there's no other way. People, if I can just annihilate that one domino, just crush it or pulverize it, or if I can do it on another domino, like, of course there should be a minimum wage. People have got to eat, you know. If I can just annihilate that domino and destroy it, I feel like that really opens up their hearts and minds. It's like, why did I think that was going to work when it's pretty obvious that it doesn't work? The evidence suggests it, and the logic suggests that it's not going to work. Anyway, I really hope we get to do a live stream soon. So take care. Thank you very much for listening, everybody. And please like this video, dislike it, do something to it, comment below. Let's start the conversation going. And subscribe for the next videos. I'd love to see you soon. Take care.